Dear guests, our next plenary session is Boosting Connectedness and Reducing Loneliness for Individual, Community and Societal Wellbeing. Please warmly welcome the session chair, Romina Boarini, Director of the WISE Center, Center on Wellbeing, Inclusion, Sustainability and Equal Opportunity at OECD.
Good morning, everyone. We are slowly going to start. My name is Romina Boarini. I'm very, very delighted to be with you this morning and welcome to you all to this very important panel on social connectedness. And I think what we have been experiencing just over the last couple of days was a real understanding of what good social connectedness is and how this is important for our well-being. At the OECD, we have been measuring actually social connectedness for many years. Since 2011, when we introduced our multidimensional well-being framework, some of you may be familiar already with this, and so we always look at social connections as one of the very important dimensions of individuals' well-being, but also a key driver of societal capital, social capital, and therefore of the well-being of future generations. What has been a little bit harder to do is try to operationalize the concept. So when we started populating this framework, we had a number of indicators for standard dimensions of well-being, but when we were looking at social connectedness, we always struggled to find the right indicators and metrics, to some extent because obviously this is a very complex concept. And sometimes we think this is very intangible, this is very personal, so how can we actually make internationally comparable strong statistics that allow us to benchmark sort of how communities are doing on this. But in fact, there's been quite a change in recent years. There have been a number of trends, and so this is a topic that has become increasingly more important and in a way that motivated additional research, including on measurement. So first of all, really important evidence, I think it was very interesting for this particular group today. Many of you are coming from the public health sectors. So a lot of actually health research telling us that there is a very profound relationship between loneliness and social isolation and many negative physical and mental health outcomes, things such as depression, anxiety, stroke, dementia, and the effects are actually very large. They are comparable to almost smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So we also have extensive evidence now that tells us that there are many negative impacts from loneliness and strained personal relationships. Things such as economic, educational, and employment outcomes are also not good at all. And after all, these 2 days that we have been discussing the economy of well-being, so we also have to think about the economic factors here. But on the other hand, and that's really the positive news, the positive story, we also have very strong evidence suggesting that when we have good social relationship, this is good for health, for creativity, job satisfaction, cooperative behavior, so how we help each other, how we provide for each other. I think that was one of the sort of key definitions that we heard yesterday in terms of how we think of an economy of well-being. And also, this is also good from a perspective of social mobility and crime reduction. Next slide, please. Now, there have also been a number of quite worrisome trends in OECD countries at the very least that actually bring additional reasons why we should look at this topic now with a lot of sort of urgency. Thank you. Thank you. Right, but this is not working. So anyway, my next slide was supposed to show you a chart with data. All right, here you go. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So this is data for European countries that shows how elderly people feel in terms of loneliness and perceptions of their social relationship. And as you can see, there are a number of indicators, in fact, that we are using to map this concept. So regardless of which specific indicators you are looking at, we find that it is more, elderly people found themselves more likely to experience loneliness. And because all our societies are aging, we also see that this is obviously going to come with additional pressures going forward. But here is actually perhaps the most important chart of the ones I'm going to share with you today, which is actually looking at a very recent phenomenon, and that concerns the health and the situation of the young people. So in fact, what we have seen is that rising trends in many OECD countries of youth experiencing rising levels of loneliness. And again, this is something that comes across regardless of the very specific data that you're looking at and the very specific definitions of loneliness and social relationships. There are, of course, many reasons why we are seeing this, and I think that the panel that we're going to have in a minute is going to discuss some of those. We heard it as well already. The President's address this morning mentioned a couple of times, there's constant connectivity with digital devices. This is obviously, coming with a lot of demands for our young people, and that sometimes obviously brings a number of risks and downsides, precisely in terms of feeling to belong and feeling that strong element of social connectedness. So they are always constantly, connected, but very often actually they feel very, very alone. Now, what is also very good news, and again the panel will come back on this, is that actually in many, many countries now we are seeing a lot of policy efforts being done and being put forward to address the issues of social isolation and loneliness. So these are becoming really priority topics, and that actually is something that predated COVID. Of course, the pandemic didn't make things easier. On the contrary, in some countries actually, obviously, the experience of lockdowns also added to the feelings of loneliness. But again, what is positive is that there are many, many countries that are stepping forward. So the UK, for instance, appointed its first minister for loneliness, adopted a national strategy for combating loneliness, but also Japan, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, and also at city level. Two interesting countries, I think, they are experimenting with something now on those, strategies, especially for the young people, are Barcelona and Seoul. But of course, it's not just the policymakers, the governments. Also, this is actually an area for attention and work of international organizations, of course, the OECD. But today we're very lucky because we're going to hear from the European Commission that has just finished very important work on this topic. WHO, of course, also contributed to this effort in a very significant manner. They set up the so-called Commission on Social Connection that is working very actively right now and is going to produce a very interesting report very, very shortly. So from the OECD West Center, one of the main priority areas for our work consisted already in producing the data. This is really sort of our specialty, our bread and butter. So we already published actually a paper, so you have the references here. I'm not going to cover it in any detail, but what we have done essentially is taken stock of what countries are producing. And we look at what we call the official statistics, or the most robust, high-quality statistics that are produced actually by national statistical offices, because these are the ones that directly inform the policy-making processes. So we interestingly found that lot isn't going. So there are a number of national statistical offices that are working on this, but of course the approaches very much differ. So, we are trying now to promote further harmonization, but also strengthening, the production of some of those data whenever we can. And that's going to be my final slide. We're now finalizing a report that is going to, in particular, highlight the very important relationship that exists between social connectedness trends and actually inequalities. So there is a very strong social gradient, within loneliness and social connectedness at large. And so here you have some numbers, essentially a preview of the report that we're going to publish towards the end of the year, which suggest that people with the lowest educational backgrounds, but also people that live alone, so single households, actually experience the highest levels of loneliness. And so I think, again, this is a topic, of course, that really belongs to our discussions in terms of how we want to design a well-being economy. So with that, I now have the honor and pleasure